Good day, everyone. My name is Simone Lloyd, Senior GIS Manager and Trainer for the National Spatial Data Management Branch in Jamaica, and also Jamaica's co-chair support for the United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management Working Group on Disasters. Today, I'll be presenting to you on geospatial information and how it is that this is supporting disaster risk management decision-making in the Americas region. So we're all very much aware that disasters are impacting us, all of us, in terms of countries globally. So we'll be looking at the global context, the Caribbean context, the strategic framework on disasters, and geospatial response to disasters. So within the global context, we know that almost every, if not all, country is impacted by some form of disaster, whether it be natural or otherwise, and in particular in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, in terms of being impacted by a disease as a disaster. So last year, 2019, $150 billion worth of catastrophes were experienced by all the various countries as indicated in this slide with regards to natural catastrophes. Within the Caribbean context, we are particularly vulnerable as the Caribbean is particularly impacted by earthquakes, also hurricanes. And so the percentage in terms of damage and impact on our GDP is very significant. Also, the frequency is very high, and the amount of our population that is impacted is also very significant. With respect to the amount of persons who have been impacted in terms of injuries and persons being killed is also very significant, as indicated by the figures on this graphic. And the loss in terms of injury, loss of homes, livelihoods is also very substantial. So the damage percentage, frequency, and our population that is impacted is very significant, especially given that the Caribbean has a number of small island developing states, which make us highly vulnerable. Now, the UNGGIM, the United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management Group of Experts, decided in 2015 that it was important to establish a working group that would focus on developing a strategic framework on geospatial information and services for disasters that will be practical in manner, being a follow-up to the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, and also applying the special needs with regards to developing countries in terms of our context and having a global applicability with respect to the various regions that are impacted by disasters. This body is currently co-chaired by Jamaica and Japan and was previously co-chaired by Jamaica and the Philippines, and we have a membership of 21. So what is our vision? To ensure that accurate, timely, and also reliable geospatial information and services, that these are made available and they're accessible to whoever are the decision makers and whoever are the operational leads who deal with pre, during, and post-disaster activities. We would like to facilitate a forum for dialogue and coordination as one of our objectives with all the various disaster players, in addition to also encouraging policy that promotes open access to data and reducing data quality and security issues. Also, coordination and collaboration on geospatial information activities for disaster risk management across all the various stakeholders, and in particularly within the United Nations system, is of high importance to us. So what would we like? At the end of the day, we want to ensure that the use of geospatial information and services and relevant statistical information is being utilized by the member states in them being better able to understand, formulate policies, and manage risks and impacts of disasters. And in particular, where this particular sitting is concerned, the Americas Symposium and the 7th session, we are looking forward to that being achieved within the Americas member states. So the strategic framework was developed, and it's accessible via the link that is provided in this slide. It's available in Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish as the 4 languages of the UN. An assessment tool was developed to facilitate member states being able to assess where they are in terms of the various, the 5 priority areas that are outlined in the strategic framework. There is a link for the strategic framework assessment tool, and we've extended the deadline to October 2 for all member states who have not yet completed it to be able to do so that we have a fulsome picture of what the status is in the various member states. So the strategic framework focuses on these 5 priority areas: the importance of governance and policies to drive the access to geospatial information and services, the importance of creating awareness raising and capacity building among the various players within the member states to facilitate this being achieved. Also, the whole matter of generating the data and managing it in terms of where it's housed, how it is made accessible, and all the common infrastructure and services that support its accessibility being highly important. Of course, within this context, resource mobilization is of high importance. The human factor, the physical factor, the financial factor, and all the other various factors that would aid in ensuring that through the use of the strategic framework and these 5 priority areas, the advancement of geospatial information to support disaster risk reduction in the Americas can be facilitated. So in Jamaica, what is our context with regards to geospatial response where disasters are concerned? Here we have outlined a number of our key entities that deal with support with regards to disasters and emergencies, Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, and other key players that deal with meteorological events, geophysical and geomorphological events, drought and flood events, the management and monitoring of our roadways, gullies, and security forces. All of these players, importantly, all utilize geospatial information and different services to drive the work that they do on a daily basis. We are proud of their achievements, but we also wish to ensure that they're able to hone in more in terms of utilization of more geospatial information and services to make us more efficient in what we do. So, Jamaica, through the onset of a major catastrophe in 2004 with Hurricane Ivan, was able to develop a national emergency GIS response team. And this team was really a vision of the then founder and co-chair of the Land Information Council of Jamaica, Mrs. Jacqueline Da Costa. So the Land Information Council of Jamaica is made up of different member organizations of government, private sector, and educational institutions who utilize geospatial information. Back then, given the support that was needed for the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, it was thought best to pursue having a group of GIS volunteers from across this body, which would then provide support to the ODPEM. And so from 2004, the team has been in existence and has been executing work since then, and was approved in 2010 through a cabinet decision. So the National Emergency Response GIS team has been responding to various hydrometeorological events over time, also disease outbreaks, so hurricanes, tropical storms, depressions, flood and landslides, drought and bushfires in terms of hydrometeorological, disease outbreak, chikungunya, and the present COVID-19 response efforts have all been pursued by the team. This just provides an overview of what the team has responded to in terms of a quick snapshot over time. So there have been local responses primarily in Jamaica, and also the provision of geospatial response support to SEDEMA, so Rapid Needs Assessment Team, that has been deployed on a number of occasions to the Turks and Caicos Islands and the Bahamas. So we're very proud of the achievements of the team in providing this geospatial support. So the team facilitates initial damage assessments, GPS and GIS mapping of the impact of various disasters as they occur, and this just provides a few snapshots of the team in action. So where we're at, the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in the team being deployed to the National Emergency Operations Center of ODPEM from the 16th of March, when Jamaica was declared a national disaster area, to the 19th of June for 89 days. This was the team's longest deployment. Through that, the team was able to provide on-site remote mapping services for the COVID-19 cases on a daily basis, the generation of static maps that show the status, spatial analysis and predictive modeling and the results in terms of different maps to facilitate decision making, the development of various operational dashboards, and Survey 123 forms to facilitate tracking and monitoring of various forms. So these are just some snapshots of the quarantine maps that were generated, isolation centers, various sightings in terms of cases occurring and the status to the various parishes of Jamaica that were done, just a few snapshots. In addition, various survey forms were developed to facilitate monitoring of public health workers, various calls that will come in with regards to COVID-19, the different types of cases, suspected, confirmed, recovered, and deaths, quarantines, isolation facilities. In addition, dashboards were created, both public-facing and also internal dashboards that facilitated different levels of monitoring. So what have we learned? What are the challenges and the opportunities? The COVID-19 pandemic is the largest global disaster challenge recorded. And as horrific as it has been, it has created an ideal opportunity to test and apply the strategic framework. So the pandemic has demonstrated that the critical importance of being able to access available and trusted geospatial information to drive the decision-making process. And as such, the Working Group on Geospatial Information and Services for Disasters encourages all member states to implement the strategic framework, particularly within the context of this pandemic, as a unique opportunity to monitor and track each country's progress across the 5 priorities. And in closing, key takeaways are that the generation of geospatial information and services is really a multi-stakeholder approach within member states, but also across the region, which is very important. In Jamaica's case, it required a number of players to be in constant dialogue and support each other in this process. Reliable, accurate, and available and timely geospatial information are key towards decision making. Awareness building is essential where this is concerned. I thank you. Here are a few references that were utilized for the presentation. Thank you.